about it.
Uh-huh. It seemed to him that if he made the first two fingers of his hand into a V and attempted to poke them up her nostrils, not, nostrils,
Nostrils is
okay,
correct.
nostrils. They might go less than an eighth of an inch before encountering a solid, if slightly yielding, obstruction. That even her grey cardigan, it's cardigan, right? Cardigan, right? Oh,
Cardigan, yes.
okay. Even her green cardigan and frumpy house skirts and faded outside work jeans were part of that solid, fibrous, unchanneled body. What's the meaning of fibers?
Fibrous means it's full of fiber. It has a lot of
Okay.
fiber.
Solid fibers,
It's
unchanneled
an
body.
adjective.
So his feeling that she was like an idol in a preferred novel. What's the meaning of preferred?
Don't worry.
Idol. Okay. Yeah, preferred novel was not really surprising at all. Like an idol, she gave only one thing, a feeling of unease deepening steadily toward terror. Like an idol, she took everything else. Okay, what's the meaning of preferred? Preferred.
The meaning of perfervid. Well, my guess is that there is some kind of mistake, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never heard of that word, and if you look for that word in the dictionary, you're not gonna find it.
Okay.
So my guess is that is some kind of editing mistake.
Typo.
Now, yeah,
Typo.
probably a typo. Now, even if you look for per and space fervid, there's no, nothing appears. Now there's fervid, not perfervid. Okay, fervid without the per, and fervid
Fervid.
means to believe in something,
Oh, okay.
to believe in
Mm-hmm.
something very strongly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, no, wait. That wasn't quite fair. She did give something else. She gave him the pills that brought the tide in over the pilings. The pills or the tide. Any Wakis was the lunar presence which pulled them into his mouth like jetsam on a wave. She brought him two He brought him two every 6 hours, first announcing her presence only as a pair of fingers poking into his mouth, and soon enough he learned to suck eagerly at those poking fingers, in spite of the bitter taste. Later appearing in her cardigan sweater and one of her half dozen skirts, usually with a paperback copy of one of his novels tucked under her arm. At night, she appeared to him his novels at night she appeared to him in a fuzzy pink robe, her face shining with some sort of cream. He could have named the main ingredient easily enough, even though he had never seen the bottle from which she tipped it. Though
The sheepy.
the sheepy smell of the lanolin
Lanolin.
lan- lano- lano- lanolin was strong and proclamer proclamatory, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Proclamatory.
Pro
Pro. Blah blah blah. Proclamatory.
proclamatory. Mm. Snaking him out of his
Shaking.
shake shaking. Okay. Shaking him out of his frowsy dream-think sleep with the pills nestled in her hand, and the proxy moon nestled in the window overwhelmed her solid shoulders. After a while, after his alarm had become too great to be ignored, he was able to find out what she was feeding him. It was a painkiller with a heavy
Codeine.
codeine base. What's codeine?
It's a medicine. It's a kind
Okay,
of medicine that it's a painkiller.
okay. With a heavy codeine base called
Novel.
Navarro. The reason she had to bring him the bedpan so infrequently was not only because she was on a diet consisting entirely of liquid and
Gelatines.
gelatins. Earlier, when she was in the cloud, she had fed him intravenously.
Intravenously.
Intravenously. What's the
Or
meaning of?
intravenously is we're talking about veins. Like
Okay. Oh, okay.
right,
I
like the
I, I got
veins
it.
that are on your arm.
Intravenously.
Yeah, that's commonly known as IV.
Oh, okay. Intravenously. But also because Navari had a tendency to cause constipation in patients taking it. Another side effect, a rather more serious one, was respiratory depression.
Respiratory.
Oh, respiratory was respiratory depression in sensitive patients. Paul was not particularly sensitive, even though he had been a heavy smoker for nearly 18 years. But his breathing had stopped nonetheless on at least one occasion. There might
Occasion.
have occasion. There must there mm,
There might have.
okay. There might have been others in the haze that he did not remember. That was the time she gave him mouth to mouth. It might have just been one of those things which happened, but he later came to suspect she had nearly killed him with an accidental overdose. She didn't know as much about what she was doing, and she believed she did. That was only one of the things about Annie that scared him. He discovered three things almost simultaneously, about 10 days after having emerged from the dark cloud. The first was that Annie Whitekeys had a great deal of novelry. She had, in
Novel.
fact, novel,
Novel. V.
novel,
Novel. Mm-hmm.
novel,
Mm-hmm.
novel. She had, in fact, a great many drugs of all kinds. All kinds. The second was that he was hooked on novel.
Mm-hmm.
The third was that Annie Whitekeys was dangerously crazy.
Very good. I don't know if the last name is pronounced Walkies or Wilkies. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Uh, I th- I don't know. It sounds like Wilkies, correct? Let me
Uh-huh.
see. Let me see real quick. You made me doubt it because I was reading it in my mind as Wilkies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One second.
The following pronunciation brought to you by James.
Wilkes.
Oh, it's actually Wilkes.
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 Wilkes. Yeah, Wilkes. Like the E has no pronunciation. Wilkes.
Wilkes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Annie Wilkes.
Annie Wilkes.
Correct. Do you want me to read the whole thing? Chapter 4?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me see your book, by the way. I'm curious. What kind of cover do you have?
This one?
Bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I was just curious because you know that books have a lot of different covers. Some books,
Okay.
when they are translated to the big screen to movies, then they start using the like a picture of the movie as the cover of the book. So I was just curious because the one that I have here is a little different. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's different. See.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. So. The that prescient part of his mind saw her before he knew he was seeing her, and must surely have understood her before he knew he was understanding her. Why else did he associate such dour, ominous images with her? Whenever he came into the room, he thought of the graven images worshipped by superstitious African tribes in the novels of H. Rider Haggard, and Stones, and Doom. The image of Annie Wilkes as an African idol out of She or King Solomon's Mines was both ludicrous and queerly apt. She was a big woman who, other than the large but unwelcoming swell in her bosom under the grey cardigan sweater she always wore, seemed to have no feminine curves at all. There was no defined roundness of hip or buttock or even calf below the endless succession of wool skirts she wore on the house. She retired to her unseen bedroom to put on jeans before doing her outside chores. Her body was big, but not generous. There was a feeling about her of clots and roadblocks rather than welcoming orifices or even open spaces, areas of hiatus. Most of all, she gave him a disturbing sense of solidity, as if she might not have any blood vessels or even internal organs, as if she might be only solid Annie Wilkes from side to side and top to bottom. He felt more and more convinced that her eyes, which appeared to move, were actually just painted on, and they moved no more than the eyes of portraits which appear to follow you to wherever you move in the room where they hang. It seemed to him that if he made the first two fingers of his hand into a V and attempted to poke them up her nostrils, they might go less than an eighth of an inch before encountering a solid, if slightly yielding, obstruction. That even her grey cardigan and frumpy house skirts and faded outside work jeans were part of that solid, fibrous, unchanneled body. So his feeling that she was like an idol in a fervid novel was not really surprising at all. Like an idol, she gave only one thing, a feeling of unease deepening steadily toward terror. Like an idol, she took everything else. No, wait, that wasn't quite fair. She did She did give something else. She gave him the pills that brought that tide in over the pilings. The pills were the tide. Annie Wilkes was the lunar presence which pulled them into his mouth like jetsam on a wave. She brought him two every 6 hours, first announcing her presence only as a pair of fingers poking into his mouth, and soon enough he learned to suck eagerly at those poking fingers in spite of the bitter taste, later appearing in her cardigan sweater and one of her half-dozen skirts, usually with a paperback copy of one of his novels tucked under her arm. At night, she appeared to him in a fuzzy pink robe, her face shiny with some sort of cream. He would have named the main ingredient easily enough, even though he had never seen the bottle from which he tipped it. The sheepy smell of the lanolin was strong and proclamatory, shaking him out of his frowsy, dream-thick sleep with the pills nestled in her hand, and the poxy moon nestled in the window over one of her solid shoulders. After a while, after his alarm had become too great to be ignored, he was able to find out that what she was feeding him. It was a painkiller with a heavy codeine base called Novril. The reason she had to bring him the bedpan so infrequently was not only because he was on a diet consisting entirely of liquids and gelatines. Earlier, when he was in the cloud, she had fed him intravenously, but also because Novril had a tendency to cause constipation in patients taking it. Another side effect, a rather more serious one, was respiratory depression in sensitive patients. Paul was not particularly sensitive, and even though he had been a heavy smoker for nearly 18 years, but his breathing had stopped nonetheless on at least one occasion. There might have been others in the haze that he did not remember. That was the time she gave him mouth to mouth. It might have been one of those things which happened, but he later came to suspect she had nearly killed him with an accidental overdose. She didn't know as much about what she was doing as she believed she did. That was only one of the things about Annie that scared him. He discovered three things almost simultaneously. About 10 days after having emerged from the dark cloud. The first was that Annie Wilkes had a great deal of novel. She had, in fact, a great many drugs of all kinds. The second was that she was hooked on novel. The third was that Annie Wilkes was dangerously crazy.
Okay. Your reading is really great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
You want to go to chapter number 5?
Maybe next time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will. I schedule another time, right? So maybe next time.
Thursday.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I was thinking if you ever want to finish this book, we should have at least 3 or 4 classes a week.
Okay.
Because if not, we're gonna take like 2 years to finish this book.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So yeah, I will definitely try to spend more time on that. Okay.
Sure. You got it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for today.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Have a
So
good night, Emily.
You
Yes?
too. No. I mean, you should sleep now.
Yes, I'm gonna do that. I have to travel tomorrow morning, early morning, so yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
gonna do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Okay. Bye.
See you next time. Bye bye.
See you.